Hi friends! I went to the Dollar Tree again. But this time, instead of getting craft items, I looked for normal items that I could decorate. First up, I found this box. Yes, I did find it in the craft aisle. And yes, it's meant to be painted on. But it's also functional, and I just wanted to do it. So get your judgment out of here.
No one actually said anything.
The box has this sort of weird wound right here and a sticker on the bottom, but otherwise it's a pretty plain, normal box. I'm going to mark out where the lid overlaps the bottom portion so that I don't paint up too high. I want the box to be able to open and close easily. I'm starting out with a coat of gesso. Okay, 2 coats of gesso. And then, because I want the main color of this box to be white, I'm gonna go in with a white coat of paint.
Couldn't you have just started with white paint?
Probably, but I didn't really plan ahead. Also, please take note of this completely professional method of just dumping the paint onto the item to be painted and then smushing it around. I think I ended up doing 2 or 3 coats of white in total. Next, I'm going in with a Posca to make some cow spots. I love Poscas so much. They make decorating things so easily. You can just color it in like nothing. I put the lid on to continue the spots up so that it would match. The good thing about cow spots is if you mess up, you can just extend the spot to cover your mistakes. On each spot, I'm going in with a sort of offset shadow in a bright pink. I tried to make sure each shadow was offset in the same direction, but once I got to the sides of the box, it got kind of confusing. After some touch-ups, I varnished the whole thing to seal it in. Now the only thing left to do is figure out what to put in it. Next, I'm gonna do this soap dispenser. At least, I think it's a soap dispenser. It's kind of weird that the top comes off like this. Like, why do you need it to open in 2 spots? The main body of the dispenser is smooth plastic, so it's definitely gonna need a coat of gesso. Now, it may have needed gesso, but it certainly didn't want gesso. It was all sort of pulling away from the plastic and pooling together. But once I let it dry, I went in with a second coat and it covered just fine. For the background, I painted on a tealy green color. And I made sure to paint it very gently and let it dry for a long time in between coats. I was worried about accidentally scratching or pulling the paint off. I did 2 coats of this green, and then I went in with Poscas for the pattern. As much as I love Poscas for their ease of use, they aren't always the most opaque, so I had to do like 3 to 4 layers of each color. This required a lot of time and patience to make sure I wasn't coloring too aggressively and that each layer dried fully. By the time I got to this fuchsia color, the paint was thick. It was cracking in parts, and I was kind of worried that it was just going to flake right off. To fix this, I put a thin coat of varnish on to seal in my work so far. Once that dried, I was able to keep going in with more layers without worrying. After some last little details, I think it's got about all of the layers on it that it'll be able to hold. To seal all of this in, I used 2 coats of this hard coat Mod Podge, and then I did another 2 coats of regular varnish so that it would be nice and glossy. Last, I'm gonna do this little magnet. Looking at it up close, I noticed it was actually a little canvas, so I thought that it would be perfect to paint on. Now, while you are, of course, my sunshine, I had other ideas for this. So obviously, I started with a coat of gesso to cover this up. I sketched out some little banners, and then I painted the background blue. I just love this blue. I used it on my puzzle last week too, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I used Poscas to draw on the little banners. And I probably should have measured or used a stencil or something, because these are some wonky looking triangles. I also ended up adding a few more off camera to try and make it look less weird. I outlined the banners with a really thin black Posca, and then I added my message. Can you even tell what it's supposed to say? It kind of looks like bend key.
Huh?
Whatever. It obviously needed touching up after that. And then varnishing. And that's it. Even though it doesn't really look like much, these actually took me quite a while. probably due to all the layers of paint. I think the magnet is my favorite, even if it's a little confusing. What do you think? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.